Brothers and sisters of the congregation, right now you're with Brother Greatness and you're checking out the 3 Count Podcast. Hallelujah.
I'm in fashion, roll cold.
Welcome everybody to another great edition of the 3 Count Podcast presents Now Into the Ring, and I'm your host, Clifford Red Dog Miller, the man that leads you up that mountain called wrestling. And by now, after our 4th season, a 300-something episode, I would just think you just say it with me, I am your Sherpa, because like your tribal chief, acknowledge me. But like every good Sherpa, you gotta have someone who's been there, done that, and can do it more efficiently than you can. That's why it's never about me. It's about who's entering. So who's entering the ring today? You can find this man at AEW. You can find this man at NYWC. You can find this man at the Wrestling Open, VPW, TOS. You can find this man at Remarkable, PAPW. You can find this man at Pizza Party Pro, NEW. You can find this man at Invictus. He is here to lead the congregation. He is here to spread the good word. He is here to collect those offerings because, you know, those are necessary. He is Brother Greatness.
Hallelujah. Thank you for the introduction, brother.
Hell yeah, man. I'm hyped.
Beautifully done. Beautifully done.
So, full transparency, man, we actually met a few times, right? We've been crossing paths, it feels like, every so often. Like, I know I ran into you at Invictus a couple times. I ran into you at the Wrestling Open, actually last year. So I was like just keeping tabs and stuff, and I was like, I want to bring him on the podcast because every time I see you come out, I genuinely pop. Every time I see you come out, I'm like, I got to get this man on here and talk to him.
Cool. I appreciate that, man. Yeah, you know, especially with the Open, it's such a different environment compared to everywhere else, you know. So definitely excited to get into it and talk about anything that comes up.
Yeah, that's the craziest part. I mean, you hit on a good note, right? And I kind of want to start all right, let's start with this. Who is Brother Greatness and how did you get into the business? And then we're going to talk about another piece that you just brought up.
Definitely, yeah. So, Brother Greatness, I'm Bradley. Wrestling Christian, that's really more of my life as opposed to a gimmick. I decided to take my religion, my faith, bring it straight to wrestling and just try my best to express it in a good way and try to present Christianity in a way that people might not used to be seeing it, especially when I'm doing more of the babyface work. Really get an opportunity to speak directly to my faith system and my spirituality. I got into the business. I was always a violent kid. I did karate. Did free and folk style wrestling in high school, ended up yarding for a long time, and at some point finally decided, hey, maybe we should go learn how to actually do this, and started getting trained in 2011, 2012, and I've been at it ever since. Discount about 3 years for a broken skull, but outside of that, I've been pretty consistent.
It's wow. First of all, like we got to backtrack this, like a broken skull.
Yes.
Like I would ask what's the worst bump you've taken, but assuming that you've had a broken skull, that might be it.
Yeah. That wasn't good times.
So we don't need to dive into that story. You guys just now know that, you know, because normally I ask that question like, hey, what's the worst bump you've ever taken? Now that we know that you've had a broken skull, that's the worst bump, and we don't really have to dive into that story unless you want to. But we don't really have to dive into that. But it is funny because like we do have a mutual friend, right? And he's the other half of this podcast, right? Chaz and you have known each other for a little bit. And it's funny because like the more I talk with Chaz and about certain wrestlers, right? Between like yourself, Nikolai White, Casey and Daniel, right? From the Throne. Yeah. Like it's just funny to see like Chaz like talk about it. And then everybody, it's like everybody knows Chaz and it's like Chaz has this like weird mythos about him, like the myth of Chaz.
Yeah.
And then like Then you meet people who know him, like, oh, I know Chaz Evans, like I know the Don. I'm like, what? Like how?
It's like, oh yeah, it's a great story. And there's always, it's funny that you have this connection with so many guys from the same place, and it all connects back to Chaz. That's great. I don't remember the last time I seen him. I really don't know the last time I seen Chaz.
It's funny.
Chaz, good guy. That's like I'm sure we all say the exact same thing. Chaz, great guy, easy going, easy to be around, good people.
Yeah, and it's funny because like it's essentially like talking to Chaz or talking about Chaz is like playing 6 Degrees of Kevin Bacon. Like you know someone who knows somebody who knows somebody who knew Chaz, and it's
Yep.
like it's so weird to think about that. And then I get to think about wrestling in itself, and it's like you're always that one connection away from that other person that you've known.
Yep. There's always someone who knows somebody. It's weird because it feels like such a large community until you start talking. They realize it's a lot of it's not a lot of people just across a lot of miles. That's really all it is.
That's really what it is. All right, so let's jump into this because I wanted to. You brought this up, and it's definitely facts. But you were talking about the Wrestling Open being such a different beast from like everything else like in the scene, right? And I only had a dark match at the Open last year, and you're right. It is like is weird because like it's nerve-wracking, but then like I'm sure like once you get there and you're there like working a few different times, like you kind of get comfortable to the scene. But I know for me, like having a dark match in front of my peers, like I know they're all on my team, but it's like I don't want to look bad. And you get into this crazy mindset, and then you like I shelled up. I'll be 100%. Like I haven't even watched the footage back, but one of my mentors, Tyree Taylor, definitely was like, dude, you like froze out there. And I was like, what are you talking about? I was like, I thought I had a pretty genuine match. And then the more I got to think about it and breaking it down in my head, I was like, oh yeah, no, like you definitely froze.
Yeah, no, it's difficult. I think what it is, you're looking around and you're seeing nothing but quality wrestlers. Almost everyone there is like, oh, I know that guy. He's done dark, or oh, I know that guy. I've seen him do extra work. Oh, I know that guy. He's a heavyweight champion at insert major indie promotion here. And it's all it's all under the Beyond banner, and everyone wants to work for Beyond. So it's just one of those things. It is tough, and then you're asked to go out there and do the last thing you'd expect to be asked to do. Go out there and have a very simple match.
Yeah.
Simple, keep it quick. And you're just like, oh no, how am I going to show the best of me? And then it turns into a lot. But what I found with the Open, and kind of what I found with the more organized places, is do what you're asked to do in a way that only you can do it, and you're gonna succeed, or at least get as close to success as you can get. Period. Because if no one's gonna do you better than you do you, so just do what you're asked and do it to the best of your ability. That's all there is to it. If you can do that, you win. A lot of guys, they just don't listen to what they're being told to do, and that causes problems.
Yeah, and that was the thing for me, was like when I went up there and I performed my first time, like I legitimately was like, all right, I got to work with Evander James, who's like a wonderful talent to begin with anyway. Yeah. And then like, and to sit back with him and stuff like that and just like pick his brain a little bit. But like we kept the match like so simple, right? And it obviously like you're there for 5 minutes, right? But we're keeping like the match so simple. And I was like, thank goodness. Like I just want to rely kind of heavily on my character work. But the crazy part was the day that I get to debut as a heel is in a practice match at the Wrestling Open. Yeah. Because I had been working face everywhere. And so for me to work as a heel was like, oh man, like this is going to be different. I got to remember how to do things. So looking back at the match and thinking about things, I was like, hey, you know what? Like I can really do things. And funny enough, it actually inspired me because, Chaz and Pure Ignorance have like their thing going on. Mm-hmm. I was like, maybe if I just, I'm around them all the time. I was like, maybe if I just work with them a couple times, like I'll start kind of getting this idea of what a heel is supposed to look like. And funny enough, that's what happened. Like I started kind of understanding like how to really work as a heel and like get this crazy thing like happening. So it's weird. I'm ready because I can't wait. I'm gonna be back up at the Wrestling Open at some point. So whether I work as a heel or a face, I'm not really scared as much as I was at one time.
You got all the nerves out one time, so it made it a lot easier.
Right. And that's the thing too. Like, and that's the funny part about it too, is that, like you said, there's so many quality wrestlers that are up there and they're all working, but they're all there on your team. And I think what ended up happening with me was that hey, you gotta keep calm over there, okay? Sorry, my pup is deciding that she wants to make her debut. But it's one of those things where you're like you're there around so many people, but they're all on your team. They all want to help you. They all want to see you succeed. It's not like anybody's there like, man, I can't wait for this dude just to suck ass so that I can just destroy him face to
Yeah,
face.
no,
Like,
that's not the environment because they're all looking
yeah,
for somebody like, oh, at least from my perspective, I feel like a lot of the guys would agree. They see people come on there, they're like, oh, is this going to be someone new that I can work with? Because you need new ingredients to make a new meal. So you're just like, oh, okay, I could do something with this. I can do something with this. I can do something with this. I know. For me personally, that's a lot for me because when you look at the Church of Greatness, I never know who they're going to say, hey, we're going to add this person to this group. I never know who I'm going to be working with. I never know what character I'm going to have to craft a story for, like the day of. So it's really important to me that I get good ingredients just as someone who's essentially become a regular there. I think I've missed 2 Thursdays, the first Thursday of the year and another one where I just wasn't available to go. I was in another state. So I'm always there. So I have, like, I take it personally. So if someone comes in there, I hope they're good because it would be a shame for someone to go out there and just not, like, assume someone, like, say someone that's not trained goes in there. And I'm just like, ooh, just wasted a little bit of time because we could have been getting ready for the show. I really wanted this. We all want the people going there to be good. We don't want them to not be good.
right.
Yeah.
It shows because, like, the Testament, man, like, I watched the Wrestling Open on IWTV. I watched that Wrestling Open, and Thursdays at 8 p.m. And I love the show. Like, like you said, there's so many good quality wrestlers that are always going in there and putting on these badass matches and stuff like that. And it's hard not to be like, man, I'm not impressed with what's going on at the Wrestling Open. Like, that's and Beyond, it definitely has put their stamp on all of that. But it's one of those things where it's like that kind of stands on its own because the workers want it to be like a massive thing, and you can see it like when they're working.
Yeah, no, we want it to be a big deal. I know personally, I definitely do. I've taken way less work, and most of the other wrestlers aren't like this. Most of them are doing Thursdays, Fridays, Saturday, and Sunday straight of shows on top of whatever's happening in their daily life. I couldn't maintain that pace, so I literally slowed down on some of the weekend shows just to make sure that I could always make the time to take the trek up to New England from New York to be a part of the Wrestling Open. So if I'm going to be there, I want as many people watching as possible, as many shares, retweets, sponsorships, the whole 9 yards.
Yeah, I definitely agree. And so one of my things that I wanted to find out and just kind of ask is, like, aside from the Wrestling Open, what's one of the hardest lessons you've had to learn being in the business?
I don't know how to say it the right way, so I'm just going to say it the wrong way. You kind of got to be a dick. Like, it depends on, it's very situational, but like I was very, most people see how I am. I'm very, like, come off as a nice guy, I guess. And it's very just, hey, I'm trying to work with people. I'm just trying to make the best of a situation, trying to be cool with everyone. No need for any animosity. And a lot of times that affected my pay, that affected how I was being booked, that affected opportunities where maybe I took a booking that wasn't a big deal, and then something really cool popped up, and then I say, you know what, I can't do it because I already made this commitment. But if I took the bigger opportunity, that would have been better for the same small company or company that just started, because now they have someone who you can say, oh yeah, this person was here. And all I had to do was miss one show. Now you have me for 10 shows with that added benefit. Or, just us forgetting that this is a business and maybe like I have a rate and then just dropping it heavily because I'm like, oh no, I really want to help someone out. No, you can't do that all the time. There's limited days in the week. There's limited shows in a weekend because most of the shows are weekends. So after a while, it's like, what are you working towards? And it took me years to get into the mindset of less favors, less brother, and more business. Like, why are we doing this show outside of wanting to wrestle? Congratulations, you get to wrestle. There's a lot of shows. There's a lot of opportunities. Where do you want to work and why? What's your rate and why? Are you going to stick to it? What are you? What quality of wrestler do you want to wrestle? You want to wrestle anyone they put in front of you, or someone that adds something to your portfolio, and not feeling bad about that. Not feeling bad about treating it like a business. That's what
I think that's the thing. That's a great point. And I think when you like first get into the business, right? Because I'm coming into I'm getting ready to start my 4th year in January. All right, let's not be too hasty about this. All right, in January, we my 4th year.
3.5 deep.
3.5 years. Yeah. We 3.5 years in. But in that time though, like what I've come to understand was, because I understand already, like I have limited time, right? And I'm not even just talking about like limited time like in a week. I'm talking about like I'm turning 38 this year. Like it's not like a longevity thing. That's the problem. It's like, but you have to understand too, like, and I've realized this when the first couple of years, like I was in like working and stuff like that. And like, I would just take any match, right?
Yep.
Oh, you want to put me in a squash match? Cool. I just get an opportunity to kind of showcase like who I am. And these were things that like, those matter. But once you start getting like pushing up, you're like, hey, wait a minute. Let me look at where I'm at, what I'm doing, why I'm doing it, and who I'm doing it for. And I think those are important.
You got to be intentional.
Yeah, we got to know like, hey, does this company have a plan for me? If not, why not? What am I missing? Right. And those are like things where I've like started to come through and started asking myself like, because, I don't ever want to blame a company or somebody for like, we don't want that guy here. Like, why don't you want me here? What is it about me that you don't like? Is it something that I did, something I said? Is it the fact that I have a podcast? I don't know. Like, tell me so that way I can fix whatever it is.
Just because there's so many wrestlers. 9 times out of 10, it's just there's so many wrestlers. They have a set roster. They need to book 20 guys, and there's 100 in the inbox. That's usually all it is. Like I tell people all the time, like it's hard to get into a promotion, but once you're in, you're usually in. Like they know who you are, they trust you. You haven't done anything to get yourself fired, so you're good. It's just about that first step and making that connection. And luckily, you're connected to a lot of good talents that work a lot of places. So not too hard for you.
Well, I think that's the benefit of like something like I'll be real, because like I hear this all the time. Like people are like, "Yo, how do you get into certain places?" It's like sometimes it's just kind of like who you know. And I'll be honest, like being on the East Coast, it's an added benefit of being in a DMV, but then also like I've reached out to a lot of people in the Northeast, into Florida, into California, and I've just asked like, hey, do you want to come on my podcast? And 9 times out of 10, people want to come on the podcast. Yeah. And it's because like, and then once I have that connection, then they know who I am. It's not like I'm just some random dude sliding into a DM being like, hey, yo, hook me up with a spot here. I'm like, no, just show me an opportunity where I can I can come in and do something. And that's always what that's the one thing I think I've always asked for, was like, yo, give me an opportunity to meet such and such, because, I could slide into DMs and be a rando who's like, hey man, you should book me on your show. Or I can just show up and have a conversation with you. And more times than 10, it's going to be, we don't have a spot for you today, but if you just want to help out and hang out and just watch the show, we would appreciate it. And then we'll see what's going on in the future.
Yeah. Just, hey, it's what you got to do. I mean, I did it. I feel like everyone had to do it at some point.
Everybody has to do it. And it's no different, because, some of us are going to have to do it all over again coming up. So, hey, I want to ask this, but what, like, you use your faith and things like that to kind of like help develop who Brother Greatness is, but what are the characteristics from your life do you bring into your character? And then what other influences do you have on the outside that aren't wrestling related that would help make Brother Greatness into Brother Greatness?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, the character is very much just me focused on faith. So anything that is me gets used. So if you ever see my my face work, remarkable VPW, Bronx Wrestling Federation before COVID, I'm coming out dancing. I'm dancing. I'm having a great time. Very much the way I just am. Anyone's ever seen me backstage? It's just that. Just because I'm well known as a menace in the locker room area. So just the way I'm backstage is the same way in the front. I come out from Christchurch, Barbados. My entire family's Bajan. I'm of Bajan descent, and that's something that I've used. I use the colors, the yellow and blue and black on the vast majority of the tights I decide to use. All that's representing my Beijing culture. Even the green tights I have, I'm a big Jets fan, so I got green tights just because I'm a Jets fan. I was like, let's throw some green in there for giggles. Anything that I can pull from, I take. I used to have a really bad temper, so oftentimes you'll see that switch go off in the middle of a promo. So literally every part of my life that I can get a firm hold on and incorporate, I incorporate it, because there's always a story that's going to require more depth than, oh yeah, he's a Christian wrestler. Like, you're going to need a little bit more now and again. And I've never been afraid to to let that loose.
So let me ask, this is gonna be my last question before we jump into the best part of the 3 Count Podcast show. Hey, I need one do and one don't of the locker room.
So big don't mess with nobody's stuff. Just don't touch nobody's things. Like, make an announcement or something. There's always that one bag that's on the one chair that everybody wants to sit on. Don't touch the bag, because everyone loses something in the locker room. And the last thing you want is someone going, I saw that guy touching bags. So don't touch nobody's stuff backstage. I beg of you. And don't smell bad. That's going to be 2 don'ts. I'm throwing 2 because people be smelling bad at summertime. The memes and statuses are already out. Please wash yourself and put on some Old Spice or something. Just get the smell goods. Oh, people don't wash their behinds properly. And definitely a do. I feel like you just gotta be cordial with everybody. You don't gotta be everybody's best friend. I'd prefer if you weren't. You gotta be cordial with everybody, because the last thing you need is animosity because you didn't say hi to somebody, or you gave somebody a look and they took it the wrong way, and you're just backstage like, is that a wrestler I know? I don't know. I'm gonna look away. And they took it as something else. Like, just be courteous to everyone. Those are my quick ones.
I like it a lot. All right. Well, those are my heavy hitting questions, but we do got to hop into the best segment of the 3 Count Podcast, and that is the 3 Count Podcast 10 count questions. And Brother Greatness, this is how it works. I'm gonna fire off 10 questions at you, rapid fast, and whatever your answer is, that's your answer.
Cool. Let's do it.
So let's put on the imaginary timer for added pressure. Bing! And in the words of Mike Goldberg, here we go. SmackDown or Raw?
SmackDown.
Favorite actor?
Leonardo DiCaprio.
Marvel or DC?
Marvel.
Favorite cartoon?
Avatar: The Last Airbender.
PlayStation or Xbox?
Xbox.
Favorite movie?
The Lion King.
Yes. Apple or Android?
Android, even though I have an Apple. Android.
I would think Android too, because Apple's and Christian. The world hasn't turned out well. Favorite podcast?
The 3 Count Podcast.
Right? It's not like we've tried to convince people secretly. Nominate one person that you want to see on this podcast.
Ooh, that's a good one. You know what? Let's say Stan Michael, the king of R&B.
Let's go. And then last but not least, my favorite question to ask every single person who comes on this podcast. Favorite curse word?
You can't say that to Brother Great, brother in Christ. Well, you know what? Ross Hall.
I'll take it.
Ross Hall. That's it. I pepper most comments with that word.
Well, there we are. So the last thing I need from you, Brother Greatness, is to let our listeners and our viewers know where they can find you.
Yeah, of course. Brother Greatness 2012 Instagram, Be Greatness 2012, I believe it is, for Twitter. You can find Brother Greatness, the fan page, on Facebook. If you're looking to watch me wrestle, wrestle or manage, we'll just say perform. Wrestling Open, IW Television, IWTV, every Thursday, 8 p.m. I am almost always there. Nothing is a bigger support to me than watching on IW Television. And anytime you have an extra couple bucks, throw in a sponsorship through beyondwrestling@gmail.com. IWTV, Wrestling Open, every Thursday. Nothing matters to me more in terms of my day-to-day wrestling. That's it.
There you go. He gave you all of his handles. He told you where you can find him and where you can watch him. So make sure you go check out IWTV. Throw some love. Watch the Wrestling Open because it really does matter. Anyway, like every great part of a wrestling match, we got to take us home. Because this is the 3Count Podcast presents Now Into the Ring, and I'm your host, Clifford Red Dog Miller, the man that leads you out that mountain called wrestling. And, like every good Sherpa, it's never about me, it's about who's entering the ring. So who's entering the ring? You see him right there, okay? He's the man, the myth, the legend, the man who saves us from damnation. Brother Greatness, and you guys know what to do. Tune in to the next episode and be there, or you're legitimately following us on all of our social media platforms. You subscribe to our YouTube channel. You're following us on Spotify. You're even leaving those 5-star frog slash reviews on Apple Podcasts. You're even checking us out on Amazon Music because we just started putting our stuff on there as well. So you're doing all that stuff. You're buying our merch on ProWrestlingTees.com/3Count Podcast, or even on ForYourWear.com. 3Count Podcast, if Chaz has set that up yet. We'll find that out. And you're leaving the comments, you're sharing with your friends and your enemies, as well as your family members, and those ones that you cut off the tree branch a long, long time ago. Doing all that stuff, you're telling us everything, or you're really just waiting for this episode to end. You're waiting for that outro, and then you're choosing another episode to listen to. Kawaii. What's going on, 3Count Nation? I'm Clifford Red Dog Miller with the catchphrase. But what I really want to do right now, go to twitter.com, right? Go over there, find us at the 3Count_pod, give us a follow, give us a like, give us a comment. We want to talk to you guys. Go to IG at the 3Count Pod. Give us a like, give us a follow, leave us a comment. We want to interact with you. Go to youtube.com, give a subscribe, turn the bell on, turn the notifications, leave a comment. We want to talk to you. Go to anchor.fm/the 3Count Podcast, and in there, you can leave us a message, and we will talk to you. Basically, what I'm trying to tell you is that we want to talk to you. We want to have fun with you guys, and we love listening to what you guys have to say. Also, one thing I need you to do for me, the 3Count Podcast also has merchandise. Oh! At ProWrestlingTees.com/the 3Count Pod. Please go buy our t-shirts. We love you guys, and we hope you love us too. So show us some support, please.